To Nkandla to meet former President Jacob Zuma. Let's go there live now. Reporter Samkelo Maseko standing by. The briefing, I understand, is just about to start.
President Jacob Zuma.
Well, thank you very much. I see you guys came to Nkandla even though you were not invited. Even when Sophie asked to come to the meeting or that you guys must come, we said no through the president. But because we have to pay courtesy, because you travel so far to come to Nkandla, as we did, so we came here to say to you very well, the meeting went very well. The tea was nice and sweet and very hot. So, the practice of having tea is such that, it's a slow process. You can't just gulp it like you drink other things, Samkelo. So you have to take your time. But it was essentially what it was. It was a tea meeting. The president was meeting the former president. So the CIC, the commander-in-chief, Julius Malema, was meeting with the former president, Jacob Zuma, over tea.
So you now regard him as president and former president. How time has changed since you said this was a monument of corruption, Mr. Pambo?
Well, he remains a former president. That's a more legalistic sort of way of responding. And I'm making a point now. I'm saying the former president, Jacob Zuma, met with the commander-in-chief over tea.
So will former President Zuma be going to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry now?
Well, I'm not the spokesperson of the former president. I'm the spokesperson of the EFF.
Vuyani.
So I came here simply to allow me to finish with Samkelo. We came here simply to tell you that the tea went very well and to pay you courtesy.
Vuyani, you spoke about how we've traveled far, So you've come out with your good heart to tell us about how great and wonderful the tea is.
Absolutely.
Will you take us into some confidence into what the discussions were around constitutionality?
Well, right now,
consider that we came from far, just like
I fully understand. As I explained how the meeting went, it was a meeting over tea, a very nice tea that we had with the former president. You know that black people do not need permission to meet. We meet anytime, anywhere, wherever we want to. We've got the constitutional right to meet. So we came here to meet the former president to have tea, as we were invited.
Mr. Pambo, what was the discussions, the substance of the meeting of President Zuma and Julius Malema? Was it about the Constitution? Was it about the State Capture Commission of Inquiry? We saw also the presence of senior counsel advocate Dalimpo. Was it here in his capacity as a senior counsel or in his capacity as a CCT member of the EFF?
Well, he came as a +1. He came accompanying the president, the commander-in-chief, Julius Malema, as I did as well. We were accompanying the president. That is why we're here. And the president was meeting with the former president, Zuma, over tea as per with the invite.
During the tea, did he ever make an apology for what he's previously said about the former president?
Well, the tea meeting was about, the tea. They had tea together, and it was a meeting between the former president and the commander-in-chief. There was no agenda, as you know. As the invite said, let's have tea. So they had tea. There was no discussion around any other thing, around anything that you may imagining. So let's stop with the gymnastics of speculation and trying to be prophets. Bushiri is no longer here, so let's not try to replace him. So it's very clear and very important that we keep with the spirit of the meeting. The meeting.
Will your leaders be speaking to us before they leave?
No. Tsidi, you are not invited. So there was a time and space. When we invite you, we do take you into our confidence. Right now, we're taking you into our confidence in the nature of what was the reason for the meeting. We came here to have tea with the former president. Did we not discuss that? We did. We said that in public. The commander-in-chief said it. He said, I'm going to go and meet the former president to have tea. And that's what happened. He never spoke about
going forward for the relationship.
Well, if the former president wants to invite the commander-in-chief, if he has time, and the opposite being true, then they will meet for tea. There is no reason that should be pushed on us to say, you need permission for you to meet with any other black person. So you meet with anyone at any time. So they met over tea. There was a discussion.
About permission, you announced it on social media that you're coming now.
Yes,
and it was very public.
Yes.
So now that you're here, you're leaving the speculation to keep running. You cannot say that we're actually coming up with things. Tell us then, at the very least, because your president has actually described the former president in many different ways. What's changed so much then, Vuyani, that you actually want to come in a chopper to come see the former president?
Well, the only thing that has changed is that the commander-in-chief Julius Malema met with the former president to have a cup of tea. Something unprecedented, something that is unexpected, like coronavirus. So they met and had a cup of tea. There was nothing more than that.
So the negotiations failed. Whatever they're trying to convince
there were
you
never
to do
negotiations.
didn't work out. That's ultimately what you're saying.
We were
There's
never.
no victory
There,
here.
there was never a negotiation that was communicated, and you know this for a fact. There was never a thing or an agenda that was put up. The agenda was tea. A cup of tea. So I think you must be patient, like people are drinking tea, because you'll end up burning yourself with these speculations that you're making.
Vuyani Pambo, between you and I, we know we are both political animals, but Vuyani, okay, Mr. Vuyani, you know that in politics, there is never a coincidence. In every meeting that takes place, there is an agenda, there is a road ahead that is going to be reached. They say there are no permanent friends, there are no permanent enemies, there are just permanent interest in politics. Are the interests of Julius Malema and former President Jacob Zuma converging in this current political conjuncture?
Well, I mean, I don't think you're asking me anything. You are trying to be a politician, Samkelo, and you're not at this point. You're a journalist. So don't say me and you are politicians. No, stop that thing. It's very simple. Well, the commander-in-chief came to have tea as per the invite. He has honored that invite, and he has come to have a meeting with the old man. So they just had tea with the old man. So I came here, as I said, just to give you courtesy.
Let's speak about what the EFF and KZN has actually said. They've actually not speculated. They've released a statement basically saying that this meeting is to try and consolidate a power base here in KwaZulu-Natal, and that they needed to meet with the old man to sort of get a blessing from him to do this. So this is not speculation. Your own organization in KwaZulu-Natal said that. Please, may you respond?
Well, the EFF is a unitary organization. The upper structure is binding on the lower structures. I'm telling you, as a spokesperson of the EFF, national spokesperson, there's no other spokesperson besides Delisile after me. And I'm the head of communications. I'm communicating this officially now to say that it was a meeting about tea. There is no other voice that should speak after that as telling us about consolidating anything. The only consolidation here was a mobilization towards having tea. We just had tea, now we're demobilized. Yes, absolutely. How
was the mood of the meeting? Just describe the mood of the meeting between the former president and Julius Malema. How were they communicating with one another in a private space?
How was the tea?
Well, it's very simple. I started by explaining that the tea was very nice and sweet and hot.
Would you say that?
But I'm still answering a question. Don't be excited. I'm saying, Samkelo, the mood of the meeting was a very nice one. It was cordial. It was a meeting of black people, and it ends there.
There was a strained relationship between Zuma and Malema before. Would you say that they've made now smooth those ruffled feathers?
Well, you're right. It was a meeting between the president and the former president. So that meeting was between the two of them. It was about tea. They had tea, and it ended there.
What's the importance of the presence of Tony Nguni, the ANC's NEC member, who's a very strong supporter of former President Jacob Zuma and a father figure to Julius Malema, who's seen as someone who guides them alongside Mzwandile Masina and all the other young leaders there are in Parliament?
Well, I mean, I did say in the beginning, and I think you do know my title, I'm the spokesperson of the EFF. I do not speak for Babu Tony Nguni. I speak for the EFF, and it ends there. So thank you very much for coming, guys. I hope you enjoy the scenery. It's very nice here. It's different from what we know from, the township that we come from, the, Bazi, Johannesburg that you know, Samkelo. So I hope you enjoy the scenery. We're about to go now. Thank you very much. We were just paying you courtesy. Anyway.
So the monument of corruption, which you used to say is a very beautiful scenery in Nkandla. Well, the EFF, as they used to say, the monument of corruption seems to have beautiful scenery in Nkandla, as they say, saying the tea was very sweet and very warm and hot, and the relationship and discussion of former President Jacob Zuma and Julius Malema was very cordial and warm. And that's where it is. And also Tony Nguni, ANC NEC member, was also present in this meeting that has just taken place here in Nkandla. Vuyani Pambo, spokesperson of the Economic Freedom Fighters, just came out to brief us on this meeting. Tabiso.
Samkelo, I'm not quite sure what to make of that briefing. I'm gobsmacked. South Africans, we sat here, and I think I'm no longer going to have any cups of tea. I'm sure you would not want to have a cup of tea right now. the gymnastics of speculation, unfortunately for Mr. Pambo, will continue, because as you yourself and the other media there asked and said, you mentioned it on social media, South Africa got to see this anticipation, well, wait in anticipation anyway for this meeting, and to come out and say, well, it was only about tea. They're playing right into the hands of that speculation, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. They are playing right into the hands of that speculation. And essentially, when we asked about the president of Senior Counsel Advocate Dalimpofu, Vuyani Pambo simply said that he came here as a +1 to accompany CIC, Julius Malema, and did not go into further detail of whether Advocate Dalimpofu, out of respect, was here in his capacity as either a CCT, Central Command Team member of the EFF, or was he here in his capacity as a senior counsel? That we are none clearer than anybody, because Vuyani Pambo just simply acted and pulled a pulemabe and never wanted to answer any of our questions. But it seems as if they're not about to leave any time from now, because you can even see the pilot there in the chopper is still pretty much relaxed and enjoying this breeze that is here in this mountainous Nkandla as we've come to know it. And the convoy that was here has just gone back down, and we are none clearer of what's going to happen here in forth. But it seems as if it's been a very fruitful meeting inside of former President Jacob Zuma and the Economic Freedom Fighters leader Julius Malema.
Samkelo, again, we do not want to play into speculation. We are reporters. We deal with facts. We want to know exactly what we're speaking of. But yourself and the media there asking, well, fairly much pertinent questions on where do we go from here. Again, not knowing what came out of the meeting, as we've been saying the whole day. We wait and see what they say. There was a question that was asked that obviously either there was a breakdown in what we thought is going to happen, or it was, because surely it cannot be about tea. Nobody would fly in a chopper down there just to have a cup of tea, have a whole entourage drive to where you are for a cup of tea. They could have done a cup of tea from their respective homes and had a Zoom meeting instead. Is there a feeling amongst yourselves as reporters that maybe things were not as, well, what we expected?
It's simply put here, Tabiso, that you cannot have the presence of Senior Counsel Advocate Dalimpofu here in this meeting if this meeting is not about the pertinent issue of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, and having President Jacob Zuma going to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry and abiding by that Constitutional Court judgment ruling. You heard the words of President of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, in saying that former President Jacob Zuma must be given space. There's various counsels that he's receiving on this matter. He must be given space to reflect and to think this particular matter thoroughly and be able to apply his mind. So this meeting was definitely about that issue of the Constitution and the constitutional people abiding by the Constitutional Court judgment handed down by the Crown Court by Justice Jafta. It also points out that the former President Jacob Zuma may have received what they were speaking about, but is not yet comfortable in disseminating and communicating his decisions of whether he will go to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry or not, and what the illegal implications of him not going to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry and him being arrested, what are those implications for him? So that was basically being discussed in this meeting, and we wait with anticipated breath to see what the former president will decide, because it's the cat has been let out of the bag that he's receiving various counsels from various individuals on this particular matter, some who are for him going to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry and answering those questions, and some from those who are against him going to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. But ultimately, this decision lies with the former president on whether he goes there voluntarily through the various dates that will be given to him, or a summons is issued against him. And if he goes against that particular summons, then there would be an arrest that would be instituted, a warrant of arrest against the former president. But wait with anticipated breath to see how he decides and how the State Capture Commission of Inquiry will deal with this particular matter on the day, as announced by the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, that should the former president decide not to come, the chairperson of the commission will announce on the day the steps that would be taken. But It was unprecedented for Julius Malema to come with this particular chopper to Nkandla to discuss these pertinent legal issues with his political foe that he's tormented throughout the second term of his presidency of the Republic of South Africa and tormented during the later parts of his first term as president of the country and president of the African National Congress.
Samkelo, thank you very much indeed for reporting. Always a pleasure speaking to you, my friend. Thank you very much for keeping us up to date. I'm not quite sure whether you're sticking around in Nkandla. If you are, please ask them to get you some sandwiches with a cup of tea, please.